Welcome to Hope Through the Hard, a curated coalition podcast where we talk honestly about life's struggles and how to face them in healthy, hope filled ways. In 2 Corinthians 4, Paul says, "We are pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." That's what this space is about. Real conversations about the hard things in life and and the hope that carries us through. So, I'm Ashley,
I'm Levi.
and I do want to say our really loud dog Lovey is down here. So if you hear her snoring or
Yep.
barking at the rain and the thunder,
Yep.
that's who that is.
Yep. And the kiddos are all around.
That's
So,
right. So I did want to tell you that you can check out our coaching services at curatedcoalition.com. And a link will be provided in the show notes.
correct.
So, okay. So you want to open with the kid question, babe?
Oh, kid question
Okay.
again.
Yeah, kid question
we do
again.
not know. And
I almost opened it earlier
oh, yeah.
on accident. And then I realized what it was. And I was like, no, don't.
It'd be all right. It'd be all right. What is your favorite food? Man, they're being nice.
They are being nice. I kind of like
appreciate
it. I do appreciate it. Do you want to go first?
Favorite food's always Chinese.
Specifically.
Specifically, a General's chicken, fried rice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Not
that's my
me.
favorite.
I think that's gross.
And that's okay.
It is okay. Chocolate for me. Anything chocolate, not milk chocolate. That's icky.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate on a steak. That's what you want? Chocolate anything.
Well, I've never had it like that. But sure.
I can melt you some chocolate.
I guess like fondue or something.
Mhm.
I don't know. Okay. All right. So on today's conversation, we are going to dive into marriage
Yep.
and some of our own personal struggles. So before we start today, I wanted to say that it's going to look a lot like you're sharing
Mm-hmm.
your side of the story. But for me, I know that as we've healed through some of the things that we've walked through, my legalism, my judgmental behavior, my arrogance and pride did not give you a space to talk about the things that you needed space to talk about without me being a very really hard person and with really hard lines that wasn't willing to give. And so I don't want to jump into this conversation today without being super honest about my own sin
Right.
and how hard that made it for you
Yeah.
to handle your stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fun of a marriage, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's two people coming together and one struggles with one thing, another struggles with something else, and they work it out. And a lot of grace has to happen, a lot of mercy has to happen in both ways of figuring each other out and how to help each other be the best that each other can be. Right?
Yeah.
And so
But I lacked that for you.
So did I. I think everybody kind of figures that out in some ways of we lack because we're growing in our relationship.
Yeah.
And you lacked some things that I lacked in some things for you. Um, and that's the same, I think, for all relationships. Unless there's some perfect marriage out there that you want to comment about and tell us that you're better than us, that's great. That's fine.
More power to
good,
you.
good job. But I think this is part of what we're trying to do is share a podcast, share some truths. And with that, you can't really share a lot of hope until you really share the hard. You also can't heal
Mm-hmm.
until you really start sharing and opening up and talking about
Mm-hmm.
what sins you've had or what struggles you've gone through or some of the pain that's happened. Well,
Yeah. I just wanted before
Mhm.
before I ask you,
Yep.
I wanted to be super honest about how I met you in or didn't meet you in your struggle.
Right.
So, what would you say was the thing that put the most strain on our marriage?
So I think there's two parts.
Mhm.
With the things of what I grew up with and things that I did, played into a lot of my foundation beliefs, and then also how I interacted. Because I didn't become a Christian until senior year in high school. Didn't understand fully the ramifications of some of the things I chose to do. Because I just thought if I messed up, it's on me. And I didn't understand how the consequences would be not just on me, but onto you, not just on you, but even into the kids of different situations.
Yeah,
And
because
things.
for the record, we didn't meet until,
Yeah, we were in college.
yeah, after my freshman year of college,
Right.
and you're going into what, like your junior year, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So you were making decisions as a non-Christian well before you met
Mm-hmm.
me,
Yeah,
and you're saying that they impacted our marriage.
the
Yeah.
big time, because it became expectations of the stuff that I looked at, the things that I did, and then also it continued on and carried on. Even though I was a Christian, it still carried on to where my beliefs were because of some of the stuff that I was really hurting from and didn't understand and realize.
So then what would you say would be the two specific things that caused the most strain in our marriage?
I think the first one is kind of goes back to early childhood stuff that I dealt with, and that being pornography. Growing up in my neighborhood was great because we'd go outside and play, and the whole neighborhood boys all ran around, rode bikes all over the place, played football all the time, and had a blast. But the issue became is where one of the dads of the boys had pornography and allowed his boys to look at it whenever they wanted, and then also shared it. And so then we had full access to it, same as them. And they would let us take it home. They would let us take whatever we wanted, which grew into a lot of different things of me not realizing there's anything wrong with it. I wasn't a Christian. So with it, I didn't understand the effects. I didn't understand the effects of what that would have with us. I didn't understand how that would affect me and my expectations of sexual things until later on. And so becoming a Christian my senior year and then learning, okay, here's how you're supposed to act was no problem not having it anymore. Um, Plus, I was super busy running and going and playing sports and school and then we got married. And there was a time where I didn't have a job and we were about to move to first full-time ministry stuff about to I didn't have a job yet and I was at home, you were at school finishing up, and there was like a week or so in there where I was bored and got on a computer and was trying to find a job but then also bored and looked at pornography again.
So idle hands were the devil's
Yeah.
playthings. Yeah.
Yeah. And so which gave us an opportunity to kind of talk
Hmm.
as we opened this up and revealed light into the sin of what I was doing. um, I got to learn how that affects you.
Hmm.
Because again, I just thought it was all about me and it's my sin, so I'm just hurting myself by doing this.
And
But
you
then,
never thought about the fact that it would hurt me.
right, and how my sins, whatever age, didn't have just consequences for me; it also had consequences for you, had consequences for our kids, and what had to happen of changing of that is bringing it to light
Hmm.
and then understanding and realizing how it does affect others, and the expectation of what I thought sex meant as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really hard for me. That was a really hard time for me to think that, I wasn't enough.
Right.
And I don't think that that's what you thought,
No.
that I wasn't enough, but that was hard. Um, so yeah, I'm glad also that we were able to talk through that, because those have been conversations I know that you have used in ministry,
Hmm.
um, working with high schoolers and even young adults, just because it's a very prevalent problem, and not just for men.
Right. Right. And that's one of the big things of finding boundaries, setting boundaries, and then
Hmm.
having accountability as well has to happen in that because Satan likes to play and is going to tempt us in every way situation that can happen. Maybe sometimes it's just a little pop up on your screen. Sometimes it's a movie that we're watching and different situations of that. But I thought was great with us being able to take the situation, talk through it, and then set up boundaries, set up accountability. So then we have the ability to work with each other to stop the things from happening like that. But also, like you just said, that's one of the things that's kind of blown my mind the past years is how me being in high school, pornography was a major issue for just men.
Hmm.
And how much that's changed in the past 20 years is now women have just as much of an addiction to pornography.
Yeah, yeah. So it's becoming more and more of a problem. And it doesn't, just like you were saying, I thought it just affected me. And now, like, to learn that it affects me also, um, that was that was a really, really hard thing. And so I think that as as we become more aware of the hold that pornography has on all people,
Mm.
um, we will become more aware of how that is breaking down the family
Right,
and causing harm, not just to the individual or to the marriage, but also to the family unit as a whole.
right.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to add about pornography?
Um, stay away. Just because once you start getting into that slippery slope of it, it yeah, there's so much of the expectations, but then also how God's created us and made our minds, it stays.
Yeah.
And then it sticks there. And then we have ideas and thoughts that just roll. And until we start filling our brains with something else, it doesn't, it's hard.
Yeah. Okay, so then we'll move into, what do you think was the second thing that you mentioned? You said there were two. What would you say would be the second thing that put the most strain on our marriage?
So the second thing was the emotional affair that I had. Um, I was connected with a lady a long time ago, and
How long had we been married? Probably four.
three, four,
Yeah.
5, somewhere in there.
Very early in our marriage.
Yeah.
And we've been married now. How long? Like, that's a lot of math for
22.
me. I always
22
get it
years.
wrong. 22.
Yeah. And that situation was brought up a lot of different things of trying to figure out the source. The thing that I've always tried to do is help. And with that, it became this lady needed help, struggling with a lot of things. I wasn't the person that should have been helping her, but I was. And
Why do you think that you said yes to that?
because I've always felt like I had to be the hero, because if not, then I'm not good enough as a minister and everything else. That's what you feel like I have to fix everybody's problem. Also, being a minister, you don't have any problems. So you got to fix everybody else's, which isn't true. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute. But it became just a constant conversation of trying to help walk through and to build into that person to help them and their hurt that they were dealing with. And then it became constant conversation through text messaging every day. And then it
Mm.
became conversations about our relationship and how the struggles were there of different things. But then I became so much more into us having conversations about their relationship
Her
and
and her husband.
right. And with that, their struggles. But then it also became into conversations of sexual things too. And it just became a relationship that was way outside of the boundaries of what it should have been. and what I should not have done, um, because it is an affair.
Yeah.
Because I broke the trust of you
Yeah.
and my promises to you, and we've had to deal with that ever since.
Mhm.
Uh, and with it, I've struggled um, to really process that for many, many years. Because again, as a minister, you're just supposed to be perfect. And so instead, I have just said, push it under the rug. It's done. We ended the relationship. It's over. No more. And
We
that's
even moved away.
right. Yeah. We've moved multiple times.
Right.
But that also pushing it under the rug didn't fix it
It did
because
not,
we drew up boundaries. We had accountability, but that never really fixed the situation of stuff. Um,
because I never got to express my feelings, my pain,
right.
my hurt.
Right.
I never got to do those things. So how long did this relationship last?
Um, months, just as it grew more and more.
Yeah. What brought the relationship to an end?
You finding out,
Yeah.
and then with that understanding and realizing again what I was doing was wrong,
Yeah.
and that's how Satan plays. And it's
A very similar playbook for you.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, because in the situation of it is I'm trying to help people and feel loved. Um, as I've learned in my life, um, there's been a lot of things that have happened, and I didn't understand how to feel or how to heal from it or how to grieve.
Mhm.
Um, so early on, losing my grandma, uh,
How old were you when you're
5, and not understanding what happened. She was my favorite. You know, everybody has kind of a favorite grandparent. She was my favorite grandma. Um, she had one eye was glass, and I just remember running around the house with her glass eye in my
so
hand,
gross?
and she's like, "Hey, oh, take my eye, and you can walk around with me, and I'll see everything you show me." And it was cool. She would give me
Was a
anything I asked.
novelty,
Yeah,
including her eye.
yeah,
Give you anything, including her eye.
correct. And so she was amazing. Type 1 diabetic and had a lot of complications of different things, and I remember still even being at her funeral and not knowing
Not understand.
why.
What did
Um,
that make you feel when she just wasn't there anymore?
lost a big hole, because I didn't understand why she left me.
Would you say you felt abandoned?
Big time,
Yeah.
big time. And so with that, I didn't know how to grieve. Most kids don't. But even now as an adult, I struggle. Uh, struggle when my dad died of grieving. Struggling when your grandparents died.
Yeah.
It was hard to understand how to grieve because I didn't understand how important it was.
So how did that affect? How did that loss at 5, that abandonment lead you down this road to the emotional affair? You said that was sort of finding the root. So how did it lead you down
Yeah,
that road?
yeah. Uh, so in relationships, kind of going back to what we said of building each other and filling up and giving to each other what we need
Mhm.
to grow and us together. Um, my bucket never filled up because I've continually had a hole in it that I wouldn't allow to be plugged. So I felt like I needed as many people as possible to accept me, need me, and love me. And so that was, yes, your love was enough, and you gave and you did. Yes, you struggled of different things, but the big part of it was me not allowing my bucket to be full, allowing this to be enough for me. So I continued to search for something else, needing something else to fill that up to give me that little excitement of, oh, somebody does like me. oh, somebody does.
But this was
Yep.
after you became a Christian.
Mhm.
So you
Yep.
were in ministry.
Yep.
You were a pastor.
Yep.
Why was God not enough?
Great question. Because it goes back to the same thing: is I didn't allow it to be enough.
Yeah.
I chose it for it not to be, and that's hard because we we a lot of times want our life just to be good and amazing and wonderful, but we always want something more. Yes, I can read the Bible and it says God loves me and will provide for me and but it doesn't mean I always believe and have hope that that's going to happen. And that's one of the struggles constantly of saying, yes, I am enough. God loves me. I am worthy of his love. And with that also your love. I am worthy of your love, where I don't have to beat myself up over and over because of the things I've done wrong, even though I've lived most of my life doing that.
Hmm.
Um, I continue to have to also teach myself and say words of affirmation over and over of God has me in the right places at the right time. God can use me no matter what. And with that, it's okay to be a failure sometimes. It's okay to mess up. God still loves us.
And he'll still use it.
Use it.
Yeah.
Even this,
Yeah.
because that's one of the things I think that happens is we mess up and we want to hide it
Yeah, which you did.
and made you hide it
Yeah.
as well. Because if we bring this out, then I'm a minister, you terrible, terrible
To be
person.
clear, this is the first time that we have talked about this
Mm-hmm.
outside of
Us.
just you and I.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, the kids,
Yeah.
you have talked to the
Mm-hmm.
kids about this,
Correct.
but outside of the 5 people who live in our home,
Mm-hmm.
no one knows about this
Correct.
until
Until now.
until now.
Until now. And it's not easy to get out here and say this stuff.
Of course not. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you.
Yeah. But I also think, like we just said, God can take this and use it. So
Mhm.
if you're out there struggling or you've dealt with some of these different things, you're not alone. Um, there can be hope after it. And that's one of the things of why I want to share these types of things too, is because there can be reconciliation with God and also with you. So, yeah, can you share some of your thoughts on that?
Thoughts on which part of it?
Yeah, whichever part you want to start with.
I think for me, it felt like an extreme betrayal
Mhm.
to find um, the evidence of this relationship that you had been growing with someone that I thought was my friend. Um, because it was a small community,
Mhm.
small church, small community, and I thought this person was my friend. And so to find evidence of this emotional affair felt like a double betrayal
Right.
for me. Um, and then to not be able to talk about it. Like every time I would try to talk to you about it, you would shut me down. Um, and so just having to hide it and not understanding why you felt like it was necessary for me not to, not to be able to talk about it
Right.
um, was really hard. Um, and I also was coming at the entire thing from a very legalistic perspective. Like, well, I'm supposed to stay with you, so I will, but I'm going to
Mhm.
dangle, I'm going
Mhm.
to dangle things over you, and I'm
Yeah.
going to dangle my self righteousness over you and tell
Mhm.
you that, well, I didn't do this, so I'm better than
Right.
you, which was incredibly wrong of me, and did not do anything to help us move forward.
Right.
So it was, I mean, it was hard, but I also see that I played a part in it being a stressful thing for our marriage too, because if I had insisted on counseling or accountability for you, coaching for you, anything for you in that time, I feel like it would have affected us for less years.
Mhm.
In this, it would have had the same impact, but it would have
Right.
affected us for less years
Right.
in the dramatic way that it did.
Correct. Correct. Well, and that's goes back into a lot of things as what we have learned in the past 10 months or so
Mhm.
of doing life coaching and this learning of this inner child healing of stuff changed a lot where yes, if I would have gone to life coaching back then, I would have learned what my source was and changed a massive amount of how I believed I was supposed to act. Because
Mhm.
as a minister, again, ministers are out there all the time thinking they have to be perfect and show that they're perfect all the time because I understand the pressure of that. Because
Mhm.
if not, then oh, you're not good enough. You're a fake whenever you preach the Bible and all these things that
Mhm.
God's not going to use you in these situations, which is wrong because he will. Sadly, the American church also is not very forgiving
Mhm.
and loving in that way. Somebody does mess up, as we've seen in church hurt stuff. So,
I think that we tend to forget that the Bible is full of imperfect people that God
right,
chooses to use despite their
right,
imperfections.
yeah,
I mean, like, that is just the truth.
right.
There is not a character in the Bible other than Jesus who does not come with a drunk episode or
Right,
an affair or hatefulness or bickering or whatever. Like,
yeah,
the Bible is full of very imperfect people that God chooses to use
right,
despite their
right.
imperfections.
But yeah, and that goes like one of the people in the Bible thinking of, one of the greatest,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed Goliath and became king and was Saul and all this. But then you get into he saw a woman naked on the rooftop and called her to his house and had an affair and got her pregnant and then killed her husband. It's like lay it all out. But then with that, we go to the Psalms and we read how David's heart changed. And we
Yeah.
read all the different ways he felt and was able to word that out. It's just amazing because then it's like, okay, when I do mess up, that
That's the ticket,
right, God's gonna listen. He's still there. He still loves us. He's gonna show us forgiveness, no matter how bad it
which is what we didn't do.
is. Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk it out. We didn't find the root. We didn't hunt for what was causing you. Why do you think that? What was keeping you from being an open book, from telling someone, from seeking real accountability from another person in that?
Yeah. Um, a lot of pride.
Mm,
With that, as being a man, that we're not supposed to feel, we're not supposed to share our weaknesses and say I'm weak and that I can't handle these different situations. Um, I encourage people to do it all the time. I've had people come to me and do counseling and have real conversations. Um, Sadly, I've only had a few mentors in my life that really poured into me in some of those ways, and it's hard to find it.
yeah.
And as I've realized, we get what we put into it too. And so I could only get so much out of a coaching session or a mentoring session with what I put into it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even in situations, that meant not just me physically putting into it my time, but then also sometimes we need to pay for some of these situations, so counseling, life coaching, to say, hey, this is really worth it.
Hmm.
And it's not just worth my time, it's worth my money and my effort.
And yeah, the emotional investment that's required. Would you say you were afraid?
Oh, yeah.
What were you afraid of?
Well, it goes back to the abandonment. If people found out that I had something wrong with me, it didn't matter what it was, that they would push me down, push me out, leave same as you. Part of the situation is if we really worked out our issue of that and talked through it, you would finally have those feelings and just leave. That was a continual fear. So it's easier to push it down than to bring up all those feelings, have the real hard conversations
So
of
how
all
did
of it.
that healing start?
Part of it's
We've talked about finding the root, like
yeah,
that it started with coaching and
right.
you finding the root. But for me and you,
Hmm.
how did that part heal? You had to find it for yourself, but
Right.
how did it work for us?
Uh, well, I know for me, it was me finally letting myself heal, which then also meant that I could allow you to talk.
Yeah.
And with you allowed to talk, you could
Yeah.
share your real feelings. Where I was scared to hear them. I knew them because
Hmm.
again, yeah, you like to dangle that over me and hold that over me a lot,
I did.
um, and understand. Because yeah, here's this hurt, but you finally were able to share freely with me how all these different things feel, and with it, it took lots of conversations.
Hmm.
It wasn't just one and done. It was lots of conversations over and over of replaying and talking through each of the steps and then how that made you feel at this point. Change a little bit here as you're healing, change a little bit more as you healed some more. And still working at
Yeah. So, what would you say for a couple who is in this situation, who either one of them is struggling with pornography or one of them is struggling with having an emotional affair or finding out that their partner is having an emotional affair or a physical affair? What would you say to those couples?
that. To get real. Um, the biggest part of it is realizing and understanding we're all weak, we all sin, we all mess up. But with that, you can overcome it. For those that are going through the situations, life could be bad, but just the real question kind of ask yourself is why are you really doing this? And why do you feel like you have to do this? And then open up. Once the light's been brought to it, then have the real hard conversations, figure out some boundaries, figure out some accountability, whether that's through the couple, the partners together, or that's finding a life coach or a mentor or whoever to really walk through the situation of what's going on and make life better. And until you bring it to light, there's always going to feel guilt. There's always going to be shame and continual struggle of just not feeling good enough is going to happen. And I would say, yeah, take the step. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be simple. And it might not have the happy ending at first. Because again, whatever the situation is, whatever the outcome is, God can use it. God's using us and the situations of different things. We don't understand it, especially in the moments of the hard stuff. But then God has used those things to help others. God has used those things to bring light to others. And then we can be there for others. What about you? What
So,
would you,
mhm, say to someone who was in my position,
your position?
um, I would say that you have to have boundaries. I will say that my boundary was always the behavior needs to stop.
Mhm.
Whatever that behavior was, whether it was the pornography or whether it was the emotional affair, that the behavior has to stop
Mhm.
or I can't stay.
Right.
And you respected that boundary.
Mhm.
Very, very much respected that boundary. And you recognized, even if we didn't handle it properly from there out, you at
Mhm.
least stopped the behavior.
Right.
And so that was a great thing that I appreciate that you did, was just to respect that boundary. So I would say to the person, you've got to have boundaries and you have to communicate them clearly. And then if that person doesn't respect the boundary, if they trespass that boundary again, then you need to make the moves that you need to make in order to protect yourself. And then if there are children involved, the children. Um, that being said, if the person is like you were and they respected that boundary, just remember that your heart isn't going to heal overnight. Like,
Right.
just because you said that you were sorry and just because you said, I love you and I choose you, doesn't mean that I believed it
Right.
right away.
Right.
That is, and I mean, I still struggle. Like, I still say
Mhm.
every day, like, why
Mhm.
do you love me? Like,
Right.
give me a reason you love me
Mhm.
today.
Right.
And like, I still need that affirmation
Mhm.
from you. Um, but I think that just remembering that it's going to take time and that trust
Mhm.
will come, but it's just going to be slow. And that you have to take the little wins and write them down and put them in your journal and thank God for them. Because that's, I mean, that's definitely what I do. Like
Right.
when I am thankful for something that you've done, like, okay, I recognize that that is growth and that that is good and that I appreciate that and that that helps me to trust you more. Um and so yeah, I think just remembering that grace and mercy um are required because just because your sin hurt me doesn't mean that I'm without sin. I was not perfect. Um I liked to think that I was better than you because my sin didn't seem to have quite the ripple effect that
Right.
yours did. Um, but I was incredibly mistaken in that, I think. Um, so yeah.
Well, so with that too, going back into the feelings of how you felt, and how would somebody also try to help heal some of their own feelings? Yes, you gave some examples of building trust and this and that, but let's what about the feeling part?
Yeah, I think that I really had to find the root of my own discomfort in that, um, which was also an inner child wound, specifically of abandonment,
Mhm.
ironically.
Yeah.
I had a horrible fear of not being good enough and you leaving me, which is exactly how that played out. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And so I could directly connect that to your behavior. Oh, well, I wasn't happy enough. We had just had our first child and I was a little overweight. And so oh, well, he must be choosing this because I don't look the same as I did before I had children. Or, I mean, like all of those things. And so I needed to recognize that I was operating from a mindset of abandonment and that I was looking for things that would give me a clue, oh, he's leaving me. And that wasn't the case. We were just 2 people who were both broken, and we were both operating from hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is the same for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, we're not the only ones. Everybody has hurt.
Mhm.
Everybody has pain. Everybody has struggles that they brought into a relationship that most of us don't have a clue.
Mhm.
Um, even through all the counseling sessions, even through all of the marriage counseling, even through all of the counseling classes that I had took in college, even in the different programs of counseling, premarital counseling classes that I took, n- didn't really hit a lot on these inner child things that have brought these beliefs into our system of how we act.
Mm.
And with that affects everything.
Affects everything and how you see everyone and everyone's behavior. And yeah, I mean, it's those first 12 years of life where you're building all of these ideas based on the way that the people around you interact with you or don't interact with you. uh, and and so you're building all of these ideas and those ideas are how you move through the world. They build the foundation for how you see
Right.
everything. And we were both operating from if I don't do ABC,
Right.
then people are going to leave me and they're not going to like me. And I'm definitely not going to be lovable. And so we were both operating from that and hurting each other from those wounds.
What do you think God is seeing in some of these situations, and the reconciliation that happens of how we have healed, but then also with Him playing into.
Yeah, I don't think that I think that there is a measure of healing that we could have accomplished without him,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that we would have the fullness of reconciliation that has happened because I would not have the grace to give you. Like knowing his grace and and what his perfection and my imperfection shines a direct like light on oh wait, Ashley,
Mm-hmm.
you do not deserve the mercy that I gave you and you want to withhold that from him. No, I don't think so. And so that's been a really big eye opener for me is that I have grace and mercy from God, and if I withhold that from you, that is incredibly unfair. So I mean, I do think that we could have achieved a measure healing,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think that my root of distrust would still be there.
Oh yeah. Well, and for me, it's kind of the uh, you ask for forgiveness and therefore you're forgiven, and then push it under the rug and don't feel anymore.
Hmm.
Became the lie of what happens a lot in church
Yeah.
of just
Forgive
ask
and
for forgive
forget.
and forget and move on. And that's, yeah, not really true because God has feelings. God doesn't forget. God says, here's my commands, and you keep messing up, there's consequences. Um, and so God loves us and but also wants us to heal.
Hmm.
Yes, he gave his son to die on the cross for us, but there's also the learning process in a relationship with him, the same as what we're trying to do. And I know for many that's out there that married couples all are in different situations, and I know we're sharing kind of here's my big mess ups, and some of you may have messed up the same as well, but not every situation is probably the same as this. And some of you aren't in the same situations of what God's kind of put us into, and might get really messy and might get really ugly. Um, but I want to encourage you to continue to lean on Him because with that, that's how the actual healing is going to take place. That's
Hmm.
how any relationship is going to come back together, no matter what. And if you don't put Him involved into it, then it's not going to work. Because even though we hadn't really healed together, we've always put Him in the middle
Yeah.
and put Him together with us. And that's what's kept us together, I think, through all of
I
this.
agree with you. 100%.
So,
Okay.
so.
I want to share the passage of scripture that God keeps slapping me in the face with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Romans 3, and it's the last little part of 22 and all the way through 24. And it says, for there's no distinction. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God and are justified by his grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. And I think that is a beautiful reminder that it doesn't matter what 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 it is. We have all sinned and we all have grace through Jesus, and that is the only thing that we have to hold on to. But your sin is not worse than my sin, and my sin isn't worse than your sin, and I'm not better than you.
On most things you are,
Yeah.
but
No, I don't think so.
but yeah, that's the deal is that we all do sin.
Yeah.
Um, and no matter what your position is, no matter what your job is, no matter what role you play, if you're a minister or not a minister, eh, your sin's still your sin.
Yeah.
And the only way to have forgiveness of that is to ask for it, and then that starts the healing process through all of it. Um, it's so cool how God does forgive us. But then also we get to also kind of live a little bit of seeing how God wants a relationship and then how hard it is to have a relationship with somebody else and the ups and downs, the quirks.
Yeah.
Um, but then also learning what that true love is and how much I love you
Yeah. Yeah.
because you've continued to forgive me over and over, no matter how bad I've been to you, how many times I've hurt you. Love you. So
I love
thank you.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, one of the things that we would like to know is if you can let us know in the comments
Mhm.
if you would like to hear an episode on hope, reconciliation in a marriage, practical tools for building your marriage. And maybe, at some point in that episode, we can talk about one of the things that I think that you did that gave me the most trust in you. That's just one of those practical tools. So if
Yep.
that's something that you're interested in, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, anything else?
Yep.
Okay. Otherwise, thank you for joining us for today's conversation. Our hope is that you leave here reminded that whatever you're facing, you're not crushed, you're not abandoned, you're not destroyed. That's the promise of 2 Corinthians 4:8 and 9, and the heartbeat of hope through the hard.
Yep.
So you can visit curatedcoalition.com. Again, you can find that in the show notes if you would like to book our coaching services.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.